Hello, my name is Ashley Pittner. I am an LPN at UPMC Chautauqua WCA, and I am here to talk about mandated nurse-to-patient ratios. As more Americans are coming into the healthcare system, we are continuously working to expand opportunities for them to access its benefits. Medical care is a constant need that will only continue to grow with the rising average life expectancy rate. According to the World Population Aging 2015 report, published by the United Nations, there are over 901 million people worldwide over the age of 60. This number is only predicted to increase as the years continue, reaching 1.4 billion by 2030 and 2.1 billion by 2050. The longevity of these lives mean nothing if they are compromised to poor health. Healthcare systems must be efficiently set up to respond to the vast amount of patients and their conditions. Today, we are experiencing a gap between the increasing patient need and the nursing care available to meet those needs. In order to address this issue, a mandated nurse-to-patient ratio needs to be implemented to benefit all parties involved. I recently had the issue of nurse-to-patient ratios brought to my attention while working in the emergency department at the local hospital, UPMC Chautauqua WCA. Over the course of the last year, I have seen the enormous number of patients that arrive on a daily basis for health care. The emergency department here is broken down into 4 sections. They're referred to as pods. Each pod is supposed to be staffed with 2 nurses as well as an LPN or an aide. There are 8 patient rooms in each section, and they evenly split them so each nurse takes 4 patients. If a pod is short a nurse, though, it is likely that a nurse will take more than 4 patients in order to make up for not having a partner. Say a family of 2 checks in to be seen. Most of the time, both patients are placed in the same room. This also causes a nurse to have an extra patient when they normally would have. When all the rooms are full and an ambulance arrives, space for this new patient needs to be made as well. In this instance, a hall bed is set up for this patient, and a nurse has to sign up to take care of them on top of their already filled caseload. At what point is enough patients per nurse enough? When the patients stack up, there are bound to be those who are neglected or given less than they deserve care. We are not the only hospital or department experiencing this type of situation. I have found an abundance of information both in books and on the internet to support this. In this paper, I will argue that in order to ensure patients receive proper access to education, screening, and appropriate treatment, there needs to be a cap on the number of patients that one nurse can be responsible for at a time. I will argue that in order to ensure nurses are not getting burnt out, patients are receiving the adequate care they need, and the hospitals as a whole are functioning at optimal performance, a nurse-to-patient ratio needs to be set. I will concentrate primarily on the effect of these ratios in the hospital setting, excluding all other nursing facilities. I will include different departments within the hospital, the ICU, med-surg floors, and the emergency department. I will take into account viewpoints from those affected by the ratios, including the hospitals, direct support staffs, and the patients. I will represent these views fairly and accurately to show that I am aware of them and have considered them. I will refute arguments as necessary in order to make my case. There is a debate over this issue because there are multiple parties involved, and every one of them has a different idea of what is acceptable. Currently, staffing levels are set by administrators. They are affected by obstacles that include budgetary considerations and requirements of local nurse labor markets. Administrators don't always see the direct patient care that is being given. They see things in numbers and dollar signs. I will have to show that mandated ratios would not force hospitals to close and that few changes in their finances would occur because of them. I will need to research the cost effectiveness of implementations. Nurses on the floor are able to see firsthand how having an overload of patients to care for can be detrimental to everyone. They see the neglect they give to their current patients because they continue to receive new ones, one right after another. They feel neglected themselves when they are ready for a lunch break, but they can't leave because they have yet another ambulance coming in. I will research the stress induced by patient overload and its effect on job satisfaction and nurse burnout rates. Patient safety is of utmost reasons for mandated ratios. They are the ones that suffer because they are sent home, having been neglected and then rushed out, unsure of what to do next. They are treated as a number and then pushed out the door to make way for the next person. Understaffing and overtime have been associated with increase in patient mortality, hospital-acquired infections, and shock. It is understandable that hospitals are very dynamic environments. You never know who or what is going to come in at any time. There are inevitable ups and downs, like disasters or traumas, which may cause a sudden inrush of patients all needing care at the same time. This doesn't mean that urgency shouldn't be taken, but going about it in the right way does. The primary audience for my paper will include my instructor and all of my classmates. A lot of the information I have presented can be expanded on by conducting research on the internet. The library has an array of books that go into extensive detail on this subject, and reports are published yearly with statistical information that pertains to this issue. I will also use the library articles database to obtain articles that were first published as print sources on this matter. I will also obtain testimonials from current nurses and patients to see if they feel their healthcare is affected, and if so, how. I will look into what states currently have mandated nurse-to-patient ratios and how they went about achieving it. I will need to obtain statistics on the effects of these ratios and their direct impact on patient safety. This will show that the nurse's ability to appropriately assess, monitor, care for, and safely discharge patients is affected by the number of patients assigned to them. This will go to support my claim that the ratio is beneficial. I will also look into hospitals on an individual basis to see how the staff is affected on a personal level. I believe there is a correlation between an employee's increased length of employment and higher spiritual morale and those hospitals that have staffing ratio policies in place compared to those that do not. A nurse's overall job satisfaction level will have increased along with the ratio implementation. Other variables that I will look into are the decrease in patient complaints and the decrease in workplace violence because of these ratios. State and national legislators have been trying to solve the issue of staffing ratios for years. Some states currently have laws or regulations pertaining to this issue, while others do not. The process may be a long one in order to achieve healthcare systems everywhere that have an implemented ratio, but with this ratio, we can achieve better results for everyone involved.